All my life, I've wanted to make a documentary. Back in high school, I was part of a school news team wherein I got my first taste of sweet, sweet ethnographic filmmaking. I started out small, discussing topics such as standardized testing as related to the distribution of public school funding post No Child Left Behind. But soon, playing small ball wasn't enough for me. I began uploading educational YouTube videos discussing topics such as the tenets of a single-payer healthcare system and other progressive ideas that society needed to be educated on. Needless to say, I knew who I was as a distinct individual, and who I was Michael Moore. Senior year, I applied to my dream universities, hoping they would be the key to unlocking my innermost desires. And after realizing I would not be able to afford 3 of my first choices, I settled on my 4th first choice, in-state tuition. But after 1 whole year of partying a lot with all of my new college friends, my aspirations of making a documentary fell on the back burner. I just didn't have a topic I was passionate about, at least not one that John Oliver hadn't already covered. That is, until I went to see my first CU football game. I was at a loss. What I saw shook me to my very core. How could such a beautiful animal be locked up and paraded around like some sort of animal in a parade? My heart was torn asunder, yet I tried to convince myself it wasn't what it seemed. Only one thing was for certain. This would be the start of my documentary. The tradition of running a live buffalo began in 1934, 3 weeks after the university decided its mascot was to be the buffalo. 22 years of sporadic buffalo appearances later, and CU officially named one of these buffalo Ralphie, due to the noises it made while being run. For similar reasons, my homies call me Gag Reflex. Anyways, Ralphie number 1 was probably most famous for being kidnapped by Air Force cadets in 1970. Don't worry though, because we treat our former prisoners of war right. We awarded Ralphie Homecoming Queen the following year. John McCain was never Homecoming Queen. Ralphie 2, Electric Buffalo, suffered the same fate as many sequels. Unable to walk in the massive hoofprints left behind by Ralphie 1, Ralphie II died unexpectedly on September 19, 1987, following a game against Stanford. Team won though, so go Buffs. Luckily, CU had a replacement waiting on the sidelines, and Ralphie 3 took the field with only 5 weeks training. When moonshine failed, tequila restored people's faith in the franchise. Hell, we even passed a state resolution commemorating tequila's death. Ralphie love was at an all-time high. In 2002, a 96-year-old lifelong CU fan named Violet Stromberg bequeathed her entire life savings of $40,000 to create the Ralphie Fund, a program that's still receiving donations to this day. Donations that helped fund the career of Ralphie 4, and now 5. It was important to understand the history of the Ralphie program here at CU, but I still felt as though I wasn't getting the whole story. Besides, what had anybody ever learned in a museum? I had to dig deeper. By talking to whoever this was at the desk, I managed to get the name of John Graves, the head of the Ralphie program. Turns out, John was pretty famous in the world of live mascots, having been featured in an ESPN article titled The Secret Life of Live Mascots. I knew if I was going to get any closure on Ralphie, he was the man I had to talk to, which meant I had a game to go to.
All right, today we are here at Folsom Field at the CU versus ASU football game. It is a very important football game, or so I am told. Oh, would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? There's the football an inch away from me. Oh my God, the excitement here is absolutely palpable.
My name is John Graves. I'm the program manager of the Ralphie Live Mascot Program here at the University of Colorado Boulder. This is my 12th year working with Ralphie.
What drew you to do this job? What made you start doing it? What kept you here?
You know, I love animals. Animals are great. Ralphie's great. Been doing this for 12 years. And for me, really, it's all about Ralphie and the Ralphie handlers. You know, they get excited on game days. I get excited to see them excited on game days. That's what keeps me around. We're a small family, a small team. We love what we do. We love cheering on the fans.
Would you name your firstborn child Ralphie?
Sure, I would name him.
Wow.
I was shocked at how serious John's commitment to the Ralphie program was. In fact, it kind of weirded me out.
There's nothing like Ralphie. There's nothing like a Buffalo leading the football team out on the field. No one does it in the nation quite like we do. It's so special. The stadium just erupts when Ralphie runs out on the field. The players love it. The fans love it. People around the nation love it when they're watching on TV. It's just the greatest tradition in all of college sports.
You were talking about the ranch you keep Ralphie on. Could you talk to us about what Ralphie's daily life is off the field?
Sure. So on Ralphie's ranch, she just hangs out. She grazes in her pasture. She plays with the cottonwood trees. She loves to scratch on her scratching posts. We have big, used street sweepers out in all of her pastures. She loves to scratch on those. She scratches on the cottonwood trees, rolls around in the dirt. She just spends life being a buffalo. She loves it. We're out there at least once a day, seeing her, taking care of her, cleaning up a lot of poop. She poops a lot, so we got to clean it up, but she just hangs out.
Okay.
Hanging out all day? Scratching posts? Other people picking up her poop? It sounds like Ralphie is nothing more than a 1,200-pound cat. Well, actually, the article John was in described her as a big puppy dog, wagging her tail and even sticking her tongue out for a playful slurp. I wonder what John thought of that article.
All right. You have a very unique perspective on the live mascots, having worked with them so long, having built your career off of them. I'm just curious, in a recent ESPN article that you were featured in called The Secret Life of Live Mascots were described as rock stars living in the spotlight. Would you agree with that?
Their live mascots are rock stars. They totally are. There's about 54 live mascots in NCAA between Division I down to Division III. They're all rock stars. They're all treated like rock stars, treated like royalty, especially Ralphie. We treat her like a queen.
John's confidence in the totally bitchin' life of live mascots was reassuring, yet I couldn't help but shake a single, nagging question. Should buffaloes be rock stars? I mean, why wouldn't they be? The images of the buffalo can be found all over Colorado, from Folsom Field to Pearl Street Mall to Buffalo Bill's grave. Not to mention, they are the national mammal of America, raking it in with big-name sponsors such as the Buffalo Bills, the state of Indiana, and Ralph Nader. Last century, they were literally cash money. Even the Native Americans loved the buffalo. Amongst the indigenous people of the Great Plains, they were considered sacred animals. They used every part of the buffalo. They were famous for it. So famous, in fact, that the US government systematically decimated the buffalo population in an effort to starve Native Americans so they'd stop complaining and get on the damn reservations already. Wait a second, that last part wasn't very cash money at all. Yeah, as it turned out, America has had quite an abusive relationship with its favorite mammal. Pre-1800, the American bison population was estimated to be between 30 to 60 million. But in a century's time, that population was gunned down to roughly 300. In this same period, Native American deaths skyrocketed. But that's America. And this is Boulder, Colorado. Two completely different animals, like bison to buffalo. Except that Boulder, like all of Colorado and all of America, was originally home to many different native tribes. These included, but were not limited to, the Arapaho, Apache, Shoshone, and Ute tribes. Boulder itself was home to Chief Niwot and his Arapaho tribe. Niwot was the Boulder Valley's first hipster, having lived here before those gold mining whites got here like poser Radiohead fans that only know the words to Creep. One of these fucking posers' names was Captain Thomas Akins. When Akins first met Niwot, he asked if him and his fellow gold seekers could build cabins on the Boulder Creek. Niwot promptly told him to go away. The Boulder Valley is only for those who listened to and enjoyed In Rainbows. Akins pleaded with Niwot, saying that him and his settlers would only spend the winter in the Boulder Valley and that they also really liked Karma Police. Niwot was skeptical, but agreed to let the white settlers stay for the winter. Little did Niwot know, Akins had his fingers crossed the entire time, meaning nothing he said would be viable in a court of law. And so, Akins formed the Boulder City Town Company. There was an uneasy peace after that. Niwot's tribe was unhappy with their new Anglican neighbors, yet their chief had a vision of a great flood coming to wash away the native peoples. Niwot understood that peace with the whites was the only way to not be washed away. Unfortunately, as far as the white people were concerned, Niwot should have built an ark. Throughout the 1860s, while Niwot's tribe remained peaceful, tensions between white settlers and natives continued to mount. The Sioux Uprising of 1862, paired with wagon raids executed by Arapaho warriors separate from Niwot's tribe, made white Coloradans nervous. Following the murder of the Huntgate family by said Arapahos, Governor John Evans held all natives equally responsible. Evans wanted to be rid of the, quote, Indian problem entirely, and thus banished Niwot and his people to Sand Creek. Months later, Niwot, along with approximately 180 Native Americans, were killed in the Sand Creek Massacre. This attack was appalling, even by 1864 standards. While still navigating the Union through the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln ordered a congressional investigation of the bloodbath. Governor Evans was removed from office, and the state of Colorado was placed under martial law. The tragedy of Chief Niwot and his people is one all too familiar to America as a whole. But hey, at least we named a microbrew after him, and that's what makes Colorado different. And what do I know? I got all that information from Wikipedia like a dumb idiot. To make sense of all this and how it related to Ralphie, I did what any good student should do, and talk to a professor.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Andrews, and I'm a professor of history here at CU Boulder, and I'm also director of graduate studies.
You seem like the perfect person to come to when we're asking about the buffalo and what exactly it means for CU. Mm-hmm. And I was curious, did the buffalo roaming help to literally create the ground the university was built upon?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that buffalo were actually geomorphological agents in their own right, and so a lot of European and American explorers and conquerors in the 18th, 19th century would talk about the decades and centuries as a
hell does that mean?
geological possibility.
God, I didn't know this history nerd was also a science nerd. This guy was boring the shit out of me.
I think for a lot of scholars.
Okay, quick. Ask him another question so he doesn't get suspicious.
So, to kind of sum this up then, I think that the buffalo are removed as part of a suite of broader changes that transform pretty much every aspect of the ecology.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, could you name a few ways in which the Native American population was affected?
By the decline of bison?
Yes.
So when bison populations start to decline, and we see this in Colorado by 1850, the populations of bison in the mountains are pretty much, they're not gone, but they've dwindled. Mm-hmm. Buffalo are pulling away from the Front Range. They're also becoming less numerous in the Platte River Valley and in the Arkansas River Valley. And so by that point, then we see Native peoples having trouble accessing trade goods, having increasing trouble accessing food. So starvation becomes a complaint that Cheyenne and Arapaho people increasingly make by the 1850s.
But that was like a long time ago. There has to be some sort of statute of limitations with history, right, Tom?
I mean, there's certainly no like generally agreed upon statute of limitations. I think the way that historians more broadly generally think about this, though, is the idea of contingency. And one of the key parts of contingency is that outcomes generate further outcomes, and that that when we look at the past, we can never kind of reduce it to a single event and trying to isolate factors within that event, but we're looking at this really complex chain of interactions. So certainly we see closer connections and weaker connections. You can make stronger arguments for one thing causing another thing, but no, there's no statute of limitations.
Yeah. So with only about 34 years passing between the buffalo population being estimated at only 300 and the first live buffalo being run at CU, you could argue that's within the non-existent statute of limitations that the genocide of the buffaloes had somewhat a tangible effect on us deciding the buffalo would be our mascot and that we'd run one here.
I think it's interesting and potentially a little disturbing how the bison as a mascot. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some cultural appropriation involved in that.
Wait a second. Cultural appropriation? I know that word. And come to think of it, Native Americans, mascots, this all sounds real familiar.
Mounting pressure on the Washington Redskins to change their name.
Pressure continues to mount on the Washington Redskins to change their name, which many consider racist.
The name of our team is the name of our team, and it represents honor, it represents pride, it represents respect.
I'm an Indian. I'm 75% Indian, and I am proud of the fact that Chief Wahoo is on the face of shirts. He's on billboards. Everybody supports him. I'm Indian. I'm 75% Indian. This is not racism. This has nothing to do with racism, prejudice at all, my man.
But wait, teams like the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians are clear-cut examples of cultural appropriation, but Ralphie's just a buffalo. Can we really equate this with this?
Is this an interview? Yeah. Can't get our mic working.
Okay, maybe that's not the best example. And come to think of it, Ralphie is introduced by Eric Cartman.
Washington Redskins, go fuck yourself.
When I think of like what several Ivy League schools and Southern state universities have been going through recently in terms of acknowledging the role that slavery played in their past, I think it's important to think about the all of the ways. This is a state-supported university. Colorado's education system depended historically to some extent on lands conveyed from the federal government to the state. Where did those lands come from? Cheyenne people, Arapaho people, Ute people, and other native peoples. And so there's, I think we're in pretty solid causal ground. This.
Hold on, back that up.
When I think of like what several Ivy League schools and Southern state universities have been going through recently in terms of acknowledging the role that slavery played in their past.
Wait. There are other schools dealing with this shit? Any of them got live mascots?
Look at that. Mike,
here it comes.
Come give me my kiss.
That's
a
good boy. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. You give me my kiss. Come on, give me my kiss, Mike. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good boy. I love you too. Is that cool?
That is awesome.
This is Mike. Well, not this. This is just an asshole. The Tiger's name is Mike, and here at LSU, Mike is a rock star. Mike is pretty famous for his wild side, even making the news for his tendency to want to hunt those staring at him in his enclosure.
This is the LSU Tiger, who taught us that you should never turn your back on the big cat. So take a bigger look at this one.
Wow.
Keep going up, Benny.
Man.
All right, so talk about a crouching tiger. Don't worry, there is glass between them.
Oh, okay.
And exactly. So
But, like any great rock star, Mike has his critics.
Petitions are created every year telling LSU to release its live tiger mascot. Tiger TV reporter Alexia Tsaropoulos got both PETA and LSU's perspective on the petitions.
Bryn Smirnoff, a college campaigns assistant for PETA, said that this grand habitat behind me might not be enough space for Mike. Tigers are genetically adapted to roam and hunt, and this 1-acre habitat just might not be enough space for Mike.
We in no way want to endorse the breeding of these animals for entertainment. So Mike's 4, 5, 6, and 7 all came from sanctuaries or rescue facilities. So just like you would go to a shelter to get a dog, the shelter's doing a great job, but your house is better. I happen to think our house is better.
LSU maintains they do not support the captive breeding of tigers, and all Mikes are, quote, worshipped inside their multi-million-dollar habitat. You can see for yourself on the constant live stream LSU has of Mike's enclosure. Despite this, the Pussies for the Ethical Treatment of Animals claims that if these Mikes were true rescues, they would be, quote, treated as sensitive living beings with needs and interests that can't be satisfied when they're used as a mascot. But that's PETA. What don't those pansies complain about? Don't they know LSU would never source its tiger from captive breeders? They'll just buy them from someone else who does. Places like Great Cats of Indiana, birthplace of Mike VI, described as a, quote, death camp where the cages are covered in feces, swarming with flies, and the animals are filthy and matted. Huh, you know, those pussies might have a point. In fact, there have been a ton of petitions over the years asking for Mike to be released, including one this year by activist social networking site Care2 that's gotten over 100,000 signatures. LSU's response?
It's going to take more than a petition to stop LSU's 80-year-old mascot tradition.
Interestingly enough, one of these petitions claims that the tiger is a racist mascot whose origins date back to Louisiana's Tigers, a Confederate regiment given its name by Robert E. Lee himself. I mean, what is it with this country? You can't talk about a tiger in a cage for 5 minutes without finding evidence of institutional racism. But I mean that's like the South. That's Southern certified tiki torch racism down in Louisiana. It's not like Colorado has a history of white supremacy.
And now, Colorado Experience, KKK.
Oh, God damn it, here we go.
We were Klan Central. Colorado had the second highest per capita membership after Indiana.
You couldn't get elected to anything in the city and county of Denver unless you were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan or had their blessing.
By 1925, the Invisible Empire is at the height of its power in Colorado. They are highly visible across the state with public picnics, banquets, boxing tournaments, and performances by the Imperial Klan Band.
Yeah, okay, we had one little teeny tiny KKK phase, so what?
It was not unheard of to have lynchings of Italian immigrants or Mexicans.
This colored man who had been ordered out of town by the Klan simply because he was a caretaker for some widow, and the rumor went out that he was too familiar with her.
This letter said, your hide is worth more to us than to you. We're going to get you.
Okay, but today we're good, right?
The Republican candidate for governor of Colorado is finally confronting questions about his family's past.
Yeah, for the first time, Walker Stapleton is talking candidly about his great-grandfather's role in the KKK.
All right, that's it. I'm out.
Ryan, wait! No! I'm done! The state's racist! Ralphie's racist! You're racist! I'm racist! I'm racist!
Ryan, come on.
I had broken. Living this reckless dock and roll lifestyle had finally caught up to me.
إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا.
That night, like the many nights leading up to it, I lay restless. The collective disembodied faces of Chief Niwot, Chief Wahoo, And for some reason, Malala haunted my every thought. I just couldn't sleep. I was too woke. Was this just a newfound sensitivity for the plight of hegemonized populations? Nah, something had to be wrong with me. Unable to sleep, I spent the night scouring the web for an diagnosis for my sickness.
So let me tonight talk to the liberals for a minute. Attention, Whole Food shoppers. Put the kale down. We need to have a talk, because this idea that being white automatically equals lame is getting out of hand. You know who I'm talking about, the kind of person who watched the Super Bowl halftime show and tweeted some version of Coldplay just made me sad to be white. Why?
Bill Maher was right. Coldplay was above any and all criticism. It was becoming clear to me that I had a disease which made me the ultimate victim. Unfortunately, the medical world was not yet progressive enough to understand my illness. I had no idea where to go next. Was it time to give up on this documentary? To give up on Ralphie and Naiwant and Malala? I needed guidance from a higher power. Hey there, big fella. I know it's been a minute since we've talked. It's just I don't know what to do with my documentary. When we started this thing, I thought it was going to be a blackfish, but it just turned out to be more of a Hearts of Darkness. I don't know, I just figured maybe somebody as all-seeing and all-knowing as you would maybe know what to do.
In the past have had a cultural violence.
When it died, President of the Communist Party of the United States, we didn't get a last vote.
Loaded every piece of commie paraphernalia we could find. Have been into murdering a lot of people and using violence.
Of course. I knew you'd know what to do. Guys, I just had the best fucking idea for how to finish our documentary.
Did you get your med card for your white guilt?
Well, no, unfortunately there's no cure for that, but I did manage to, well, it wasn't just me, you know, I'm nothing without my face.
Cut to the chase.
Think about it, guys. What is the one thing every Michael Moore movie has?
Smug voiceovers?
Close.
Flint?
People?
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Hey, now, come on, guys, that was cheap. No. Every Michael Moore movie has a sequence or a series of sequences wherein Michael Moore annoys the shit out of somebody. For a good cause.
So you want us to annoy the shit out of people?
For a good cause.
Exactly.
So how are we going to annoy people?
By starting a revolution.
What are we revolting for?
To free Ralphie and, I don't know, help Native Americans, I guess.
Wait. How in the heck are we supposed to start a revolution?
I have just the thing.
Bismillah. Hey! Showing living by the G code. What the fuck is Fleek though? Don't ask them, what do he know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember. Never mind, I'm off it, it's quiet form. Time to put the temper tantrums to the quiet corner. Hush, that's enough, said the ruler. No suckers allowed to break bread or asunder. The daylight, lightning, and the thunder. Sun, moon, and stars, and the hunger. Abundance in bundles, blessings and troubles. Towers and tunnels, views and valleys, waves and peaks. Streets you from, son, planet Earth. And ain't scared of no Mars attack. What type of bars is that? Stay off my chat. I'm out they corny riot garments. Top 5 dial on and on them. Superfly, slicker, top rope. Eagles diving on them. You why you lying, homie? You won't play with my emotions, Smokey. Big chief, heart rate, big beat, B-E-Y, I seen straight jacket, come clean, big said it was a dream. Now it's a living thing, with you and living kings, I mean it, I mean it. Yasin in the R.E.D. I mean it, original nation, with one solid, I mean it, straight jacket, come clean, Yasin and Yasin in the R.E.D. Original nation, with one solid, with true and living, you know, with true and living.
Now this is bitchin'. Now that all the stickers had been stuck, I knew there was no turning back. However, a week after our great stickening, there was absolutely zero discussion on the internet about our cause. It was clear the powers that be were trying their best to suppress our message. So if I was going to wage a revolution against the university's greatest tradition, I would need a covert way of gaining allies. But where on campus could I find young and able bodies to fight the good fight?
What's up, guys? I'm Riley, the president. And I'm Ben, the social chair. Welcome to Sigma Nu Gamma Kappa chapter at the University of Colorado Boulder, the oldest fraternity on campus. Come on in.
Of course, the only way to fight CU's biggest tradition was with its next biggest tradition, fraternities. And what better fraternity than the oldest one on campus and the home of a disembodied Ralphie head, Sig Nu? The plan: to infiltrate Sig Nu by showing them that I am just so cool they have to accept me as one of their own. Then, once on the inside, convince my fellow brothers of the innate evil of the Ralphie program, thus making them revolutionaries as well. The only problem with this plan was that recently, frats on CU have been taking a lot of heat. Following the recent drugging of 5 students at a Sigma Pi party, I felt conflicted about making my foray into frat culture in today's Me Too era. But that didn't change the fact that I needed allies. So how was I going to infiltrate Sig Nu while also sending a positive message about female empowerment? By wearing this hat.
Ready? Rolling?
Yeah.
All right.
What's up? Surprise, brought a football. Oh, bad hands, but I'll shake him. What's up? How you doing?
All right. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Nothing much. I've just been, shopping around fraternities.
Awesome.
Can I see yours?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Take a look. Kind of the first place I like to take all my friends is our big Ralphie head right here. We've had her for about 8 years now. I actually donated one of our alumni, was generous enough to give it to her. This was actually one of the official real Ralphies who passed away many, many years ago. Taxidermied, unfortunately, and put up here. I think it's a pretty cool statement to what CU tradition is and how we're a big part of that.
Yeah,
so,
no, I feel that. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like a weird spiritual energy coming off of it. I really vibe with spirits, man. Like
Definitely.
This shirt I have on right now, this is...
The wolf shirt?
Yeah.
It's Wolf Shirt Wednesday. Oh, that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. But the thing is, my spirit animal is a wolf every day.
Okay.
So I try to wear the shirt every day.
Gotcha.
And then, actually my spirit animal is a werewolf, but we'll edit that out.
Keep that one out.
Yeah, and then this is a dream catcher, because, I'm a wolf in my dreams.
Okay.
And then that's how many beers I've drank.
Or how many lives a cat has?
No, just how many beers I've drank.
Do you just tally that up?
Yeah.
Every time?
Every
so
time.
Is that 11 today?
No, ever.
Ever?
Okay.
My
whole life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
As a werewolf or as a human?
I have never drank as a werewolf because that would be irresponsible. Yeah.
We recently added this about 4 years ago. This used to be where the president lives.
It was crazy.
But just due to having the president be an older person in the chapter, we decided to make this into a weight room and have him live in one of the houses on the property as well.
Do you guys have any, do you have, a dance studio at all?
A dance studio?
Yeah.
No, we have like the basement, which is where people are eating at the moment. But I guess that would be the only real dance studio.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
'Cause I only get my exercise through dancercise.
Well, you can definitely do dancercise anywhere on the house.
Can I show you?
Absolutely.
So, like one thing I like to do, I usually do it with heavier weights, but so it's like you got a stick, right?
Right.
You got a stick, and then you move the stick, and then you break the stick. Then you move the stick, or you fix the stick, then you move it, and you break it, and then this is just all I do for exercise.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
I'll need to go to physical therapy for my shoulders after that.
Well, you know,
You get used to it though.
you get used to it. You get used to it.
Awesome. One thing that's really cool is just kind of everywhere there's pictures of a lot of the different classes that we've had. I mean, everything back to 1904. We were founded in 1902, but there's pretty much a picture of every single person that's come through this house, which is pretty awesome. Wow. You know? So we do a lot of studying in here. This is like just another really cool place for you know, just history and things like that. Yeah, this is we kind of like to keep it quieter in here. That's kind of one of our rules.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean
you're good. You're good.
Boys at you guys. Sure.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about anything? Or?
What are you guys working on?
Homework.
Schoolwork.
Homework.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I.
That's what this is all about right here. You know.
I'm gonna give air fives for homework. Okay, real high five to that guy. Don't feel jealous. Air five.
It was working.
Air five, air
They were
five.
beginning to accept
Air
me as
five.
one
Air
of
five.
their own.
Air five back there. All right. Let's hit the next room.
All right.
The time had finally come. Time to complete my mission. To finally become a brother.
So, last thing before we go.
Right.
You've just shown me how cool your house is. You've been kind enough to show me how cool your house is. I've been kind enough to show you how cool I am.
Yeah.
So,
we're gonna make like a secret handshake.
if I'm in the frat, do I get to learn a secret handshake?
I'll give you. We'll make one secret handshake.
Is it the frat secret
I can't say. I
handshake,
can't guarantee that it is or it isn't.
Wait, so am I in the frat?
Fuck it. All right.
I'm in the frat.
As an honorary member, sure.
But not like an actual. Like, do I get anything?
Is this? Is this a joke?
It's not. I mean, I wanted. Yeah. I was just joking. Man.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're just joking around. Let's go, guys.
My plan to join a frat and party my way to revolution had failed. That's okay though, because frats are stupid and it's not like I was actually hoping to finally be accepted into one or something. But as far as my revolution was concerned, it was back to the drawing board.
Global warming, inequality, corruption. What do all of these things have in common? They are all things that come up when you Google list of problems in the world. Now, what does that mean for us? I have no idea. All I know is no one is talking about our movement and I don't know why.
Maybe we need better marketing.
I like where your head's at, but we already spent our marketing budget on stickers.
Maybe we could use a face for our movement.
Isn't Ralphie the face of our movement?
Like a human face.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we already have a pretty good human face for our movement, guys, all right? So next suggestion.
Who's our face?
Me, Luke. Me. I'm the face of our movement.
Since when?
Since we started, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. Don't you guys think? Guys? I mean, what? Is it the glasses? Is it the hat? You know, I have different hats, guys.
I think we need a more recognizable face.
I was offended the crew didn't have faith in my face, but they had a point. Global warming had Leonardo DiCaprio, genocide had George Clooney, and cyberbullying had Demi Lovato. There's no such thing as a legitimate cause without a celebrity.
All right, fine. Fuck you guys, but fine. Let's find some celebrities.
We decided to narrow our search to celebrities involved in the Dakota Access Pipeline controversy a couple years ago, since that had to do with Native Americans, just like our cause.
What about Shailene Woodley?
Probably still in jail.
The cast of Justice League made a video endorsement for the cause.
DC movies are kind of a mess, but what about somebody in a Marvel movie?
Some people are like, who the fuck are you? Why should we listen to you? Do what you can. Do what little bit. I always tell myself, and this is something that I've learned, if you're losing hope, you're not doing enough.
It was perfect. He was perfect. By making Mark Ruffalo the face of our movement, we could finally have the legitimacy we so desperately desired. The plan: to replace any instances of the Buffalo here at CU with the Ruffalo, thus making us the University of Colorado Mark Ruffalos. For this plan to work, we first needed to get into contact with Mark Ruffalo, which meant venturing into the sphincter of public discourse known as Twitter. Given that I've never had a Twitter before, I was a bit nervous about this. However, I figured the best approach would be to be direct with Mark. Hey Mark, turns out the mascot at our university is super racist and shit, and we'd think you'd be a better one. Something like this. What do you think? Hashtag CU Boulder, hashtag enough is enough-alo, hashtag SkullRuffs. And tweet. While I waited for Mark to reply, I decided to check out some other trending hashtags to see what exactly made them trend-worthy. I found a comprehensive list of the most popular hashtags on Twitter, which included things like hashtag crypto, hashtag cryptocurrency, hashtag cryptocurrencies, hashtag MeToo, hashtag influencer, hashtag influencers, and hashtag deep learning. It was going to be hard relating all of these different topics back to Ralphie, but if it met a chance at getting closer to Mark Ruffalo's sweet scruffalo, I had to give it a shot. Sorry about that last tweet, Mark. I'm new to Twitter, but don't worry, I've been hashtag deep learning about it. If you're willing to join our cause and become CU's new mascot, you'd sure be a big hashtag influencer. But if that's not enough, we'll pay you in Ralphie coin, which is a new hashtag cryptocurrency that's backed by the aluminum standard. Are you serious about changing the world, Mark? Hashtag me too. I really gave it my all in that last tweet, but Mark still wasn't responding. Maybe I had learned the right words, but didn't yet know the lingo. I decided to look into the most retweeted tweets of all time to see what they did right. Turns out, the most retweeted tweet of all time was one by Japanese businessman Yusaku Miyazawa. Now, I don't speak Japanese, but Google Translate tells me this tweet had something to do with offering people money for retweets. Unfortunately, we didn't have any money, but Mark Ruffalo definitely did, so that wasn't a big problem. So the only thing standing between me and co-opting the most popular tweet of all time was whether Mark knew Japanese. Hey everyone, who wants free money? We're gonna replace Ralphie with Mark Ruffalo, then have Mark Ruffalo run on the moon with a Japanese businessman. $, $, $. This tweet was sure to be a success, but as I went to hit send, the unthinkable happened. With Mark Ruffalo having blocked me, we could no longer rely on a celebrity to save our revolution. It was clear we needed to take this upon ourselves.
This is a silent protest. It is also a hunger strike. I have not eaten for 6 hours.
It didn't seem like we were getting through to anyone, and even those who did participate didn't really get what we were going for.
When I say Ralphie, you say genocide. Ralphie! Ralphie!
Kill pedophiles! Kill rapists! Woo! Kill human trafficking! Stop human trafficking! Kill pedophiles! Kill rapists!
It was looking like it was time for our silent protest to get louder.
This is a silent protest.
Hashtag enough is enough-alo. Hashtag enough is enough-alo. Enough is enough-alo.
It was time to make my message as clear as possible. It was time to bring out the big guns.
is a silent protest. Live mascots, more like a human-centric term for animal slavery that represents the intersectionality between public universities and Native American genocide.
What was I missing? I had tried everything and I just couldn't get anybody to listen.
Was this what it was like being a Native American? Wait a second. Had I even talked to a Native American this whole documentary? Shit, yeah, I should probably do that.
But where would I be able to find Native Americans willing to talk to me about the buffalo?
For time untold, we depended on our relatives, the buffalo, for everything. We followed their path. They gave us our shelter, our clothing, our food, and our direction. The buffalo have always taken care of us. Now it's our turn to take care of them.
Oh, well, that was easy. But you know what that video could have used was some Coldplay. Ah, damn it, now I'm culturally appropriating. Guess I really should go talk to these people and see what they have to say about Ralphie.
Ralphie and the buffalo for CU, it reminds me of cultural appropriation.
Pause. Play it back.
It reminds me of cultural appropriation.
It reminds me of cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I had done it. I had gotten a Native American to say Ralphie was cultural appropriation, which meant I had found the ending to the greatest documentary ever made. But as I fantasized about my inevitable Academy Award, Jason threw me a curveball.
I would hope that, the conversation can shift from cultural appropriation for Native American people to one of greater understanding.
What? Greater understanding? Ralphie's all fucking racist and shit. What more is there to understand?
In no short, we learn how to be who we are from the buffalo, from the bison. And so for us, it is a very sacred relationship and a significant relationship to the point that, we consider them relatives, or more like family.
Mm. And that relationship was one of, it was a brother, it was a relative. Mm-hmm. And so as such, we treat them more like people, and that's reflected in the way that we call them in probably all 573 federally recognized tribes.
There was a buffalo economy here. Mm-hmm. Everything that we needed came from that animal. It was central to our livelihood. It was a gift of God. Mm-hmm. It was life's commissary. Everything that we needed came from it. When I go to visit with kids, I take a buffalo box. It has all the parts of the buffalo, and I ask them, where do you go when you need something today? And they sometimes jokingly say Walmart.
The socioeconomic issues, the poverty that's have stricken some of these communities, the desolation, the nutritional deficits, taking away that, bison being such a healthy, nutrient-dense source, removing that from our diets has had detrimental effects. You see the onset of diabetes and the heart disease and a number of different ailments, how they have affected indigenous communities.
And a lot of our young people are struggling with their identities. We have problems with suicide. We have problems with high school dropout rates. We have a lot of issues socially that we're trying to deal with. And I think that reconnecting our young people with buffalo is a way to help combat a lot of those things.
We've got our problems as Native Americans, as Indians, as a political entity. We've got an uphill battle. It's going to be tough, but how we do it is the same way we leaned on buffalo back in the teepee days. We're going to have to lean on them again, and they us.
After hearing the perspective of those at the summit, it was beginning to dawn on me that the implications of buffalo eradication and the cultural imperialism therein was something not even Mark Ruffalo could solve. Suddenly, the previous 30 minutes of my documentary were seeming pretty stupid. How could I be so dumb to think that frat boys, or celebrities, or this...
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me.
White and guilty!
Trying to catch me.
White and guilty! Would help in any way when I didn't even really understand the problems I was trying to fix. I thought about Ralphie and how her experience isn't all that different from that of Native Americans. Isolated from her identity, placed in a cage, and surrounded on all sides by cowboys. But this shit no longer seemed like just a CU problem, but more a deeply ingrained misunderstanding about our relationship with the world around us.
When I think of justice, we were talking about justice earlier, and when I think about justice and when I think about buffalo, how come we don't have rights for them? How come they can't have justice? Because legally they're not a political entity. They have a corporation has more rights than they do.
You know, when you remove these animals from their natural setting, when you remove these animals from their natural relationships, how do they grow to be? How does a buffalo be a buffalo? How does a bison be a bison if they don't ever have any other bison to learn from? And you know, I always ask myself, you know, when we talk about bison restoration, you know, do the buffalo want to come back? Do we respect them enough? Are we willing to give them the space that they need? Are we willing to give them the respect that they need? I don't know.
Analyzing the cognitive dissonance associated with human centricity would probably be a documentary unto itself. So for now, let's take a step back, look at what we already know, and try to figure out an ending for this documentary. First, the US government systematically decimated the bison population, and subsequently the native population, in order to gain lands. Lands that were then used to build things like universities. These universities went on to build big-ass football stadiums where everyone could get drunk and watch CTE happen. Meanwhile, on their reservations, Native Americans are left to deal with poverty, mass incarceration, and a failing education system. And all this shit too. Second, in addition to tuition, public universities like CU are funded by taxing the communities in which they reside, the goal being that they'll improve said communities. Universities instead spend that money on stupid fucking bullshit like running a buffalo or building a $3 million cage for a pet tiger. It's cool though, it's only $3 million, it's not like the decrepit and structurally dangerous schools on various reservations could have used it or anything. Even though Native Americans do pay state sales tax, which funds the universities that— Hey everyone, look how cool our buffalo pool is! In all seriousness, with college tuition rates skyrocketing, universities are more profitable than ever before. Meaning, there should be plenty of money to spare for helping Native Americans. But money's not the only thing they can do to help.
Is an American story. Buffalo are important not only to Native Americans, but they should be important to all Americans. And you know, we've done a pretty poor job in this country about education and educating people about the history of this nation. So Buffalo is integral to everybody.
Tell the entire story. And oftentimes, you know, we only hear one side of the story.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why, you know, for tribal people, you know, continuing to voice and continuing to echo that voice of you know, the importance of bison restoration is so critical. And I think the role of academic institutions is also vital in that. Ralphie is absolutely one of the most amazing sites that you will find in any college football, in any sports stadium around the country. But at what cost?
As my documentary winded down, I couldn't help but reflect on all I had learned. When this thing started, I just wanted it to be like Michael Moore. But that was a flawed approach. Making a documentary isn't about becoming Michael Moore, but rather demanding Michael Moore from those with the power to effect positive change. So while I hope this film can convince CU to do more for the Native Americans in which it owes its existence, I also know it's not enough to wait around for them to do the right thing. So, in a last-ditch effort to change the world, I decided to donate to the Intertribal Buffalo Council to help in their attempt to return buffalo to Native communities, and maybe inspire those of you watching to do the same. It was funny how all this work on the documentary just led to us asking people for money. Maybe I should switch my major to advertising. Hey Alexa, play something bittersweet.
Nothing much is happening today. Nothing really very much, my friends. All except the mountains and the flowers and the grass and the people in the public eye who live and die too fast. Lovers come and lovers go as morning smiles at last, but nothing much is happening today. Nothing much has happened in the past. Nothing that I know will last. Snow and rain and sleet have won and made my door fall down. Maybe I should fix it, but I'd rather go to town. Hey, what if the snow should stop and let the sun come round, and nothing much is happening today. Living is not really quite the same as I expected it to be. What a crying shame, because I thought that love would be a wonderful place to be. Oh.